Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Humpty Calderon. He's the head of community at ONTology. Humpty, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
The reason why I asked you here today was because I would like to talk to you about how you got into crypto, and then let's move into ontology, what it is, and how people can take advantage of the system. But first, how did you first get into cryptocurrency?
Well, I got into crypto through Bitcoin. I think that's kind of how many of us learned about it. It's the grandfather of all coins, right? So it was around the year 2015. I joined some forums. I read what people were talking about it, and it really piqued my interest. It was really interesting. I read the Bitcoin Manifesto, by the cyberpunks, and I thought that all was pretty cool. It's about giving power back to the people. So I joined a couple of my local meetups. Some were at libraries and universities and local coffee shops. And the further I got into the rabbit hole, the more I really wanted to be a part of it. Just beyond being a Bitcoin holder. So over the years, I got to meet several developers, and it was around the year 2017 that a few developers and myself got together, and we put together a node on a public blockchain that was just launching their DPoS. And we called out to the community on Reddit, and we shared our own manifesto about what we wanted to do. And that was to give them a voice in community governance, right? Give them a seat at the table so that when decisions were being made, they had a voice in those decisions. And it resonated. People really connected with that message. And we were elected as the first community node on that blockchain. Very quickly, the support grew. We got to be the number one validator on that blockchain, to the point where we had close to 40% of the staked tokens on that blockchain. So that to me really spoke to that we were making a connection with people, right? And so people wanted a sense of belonging. So I kept building, and eventually, when I was looking for new opportunities, ONTology and myself got together, and here I am.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about ontology.
So ONTology is a layer one blockchain with that supports transactions up to 5,000 per second, I believe, finality at under 1 second. So it's incredibly fast and incredibly efficient. The dual token model that you're referencing, ONT and ONG, that's the governance token and the gas token. Right. So with ONT, that's the token that you use to stake on the network in order to participate in that delegated governance. You stake it for a node, you earn rewards. Those rewards are an ONG. Gotcha. So what you do with that ONG then is use that to power all of your transactions on the blockchain.
Okay, I understand. Okay, cool. So for a person who wanted to get either one, what would be the best way to do that?
ONT is listed on many exchanges, and it's listed on both centralized and decentralized exchanges. In fact, currently there are several campaigns ongoing where ONT is available on blockchains like Binance Smart Chain as well, through some of the DEXs that are on that chain. ONG, I believe it's also listed in several of these decentralized exchanges. But the cool thing about ONG, like I mentioned before, is you don't necessarily need to go out and buy it. If you have ONT through your participation in that delegated governance, you are earning that ONG. So it's almost airdropped to you for free for being an active member in governance.
Gotcha. What exactly could I expect from ontology as a platform or a service? Like what would you say is your key function?
Yeah, so as a layer one chain, obviously it supports tokens, just like ONT and ONG, those types of digital assets. It has DeFi platform that's built on the chain as well. That's Wing, which I think we may touch on a little bit as well. That is a decentralized lending platform.
Okay.
And it has both a token model with Wing, it has a DAO governance where there are initiatives and those token holders can then vote on those initiatives. But really, the focus of the team and many of these other projects that are built by Ontology on that network support their mission. And that mission is to accelerate the adoption of decentralized identity and data. So really what that means is, using some of these decentralized identity methods like ONTID and OScore, leveraging that to create a better user experience in DeFi and to secure your privacy and your data as you're, interacting with these protocols and beyond.
Right. Well, let's go further into the ID aspect. So tell me a little bit more about that. How would that process work for are we talking about verification? Are we talking about somewhat KYC? What does ontology mean by ID or identification?
Sure. So identity is actually multifaceted, right? Everything that you just mentioned is a part of that. What ontology provides is an identifier and verifiable credentials that are packaged into what they call ONT-ID. And that identity travels with you not just through ontology, but also across other blockchains. ONT-ID has been launched not just on ontology, but on Ethereum, on Binance Smart Chain, on Near Protocol, and soon on Polkadot too. So the goal is to enable you to authenticate and authorize your identity using this identity that's been created for you. I guess one of the important things to discuss when we're talking about identity is, a lot of times, as an example, one that's commonly used, is you go and you try to get, a bottle of wine,
Right.
and someone wants to verify that you are indeed 21, right? So what they're going to ask you to do is to show your ID. But along with proving that you are 21 or over 21, it also shows your entire name, your address, your ID number, a lot of information that person doesn't necessarily need in order to prove that you're of age.
Right.
So
Which is a major concern for a lot of people in crypto.
exactly. So what ONT-ID and decentralized identity aims to do is separate all of this data so that you as a user could choose how much of your identity you want to share with the person that's requesting it on the other end. Literally, if that person needs to prove that you are of age, all they need is a yes and no answer, right? With decentralized identity, you can do that. Ontology, as an issuer of this ONT-ID, can verify that you truly are what you claim to be.
Okay.
Beyond that, Ontology has also built OScore, which is a reputation system that also works on chain. And what that does is OScore aggregates your behavior on chain. So if you're lending or borrowing, and if you're defaulting, as an example, your OScore or your decentralized or self-sovereign credit score will become affected negatively and will impact what you can do, on some of these platforms. On the other hand, if you're a good borrower, you're in great standing, you're not defaulting, you're paying back your loans, you're interacting with multiple protocols, and again, you're doing this in a responsible way, your self-sovereign credit score goes up. And what that then enables is better rates that could be through better incentives or lower collateral, right? Because right now, one of the biggest issues with DeFi is it's over collateralized. If you want to borrow, you say 5,000 of something, you got to put up 10,000 of something else, right?
Right.
In order to borrow that. So really what that does is it really limits and creates barriers to people who don't have that capital, right? And the use case is also pretty narrow. But as you look at this as not a capital, as needing this larger capital requirement, but instead through a reputation of your good behavior, it lowers its barrier and increases its utility.
Okay. Well, do you think that that's a what might be holding DeFi back from mass adoption is the collateral issues and the fact that you have this barrier of funding that could be getting in the way of more people getting involved?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at what DeFi could become, right, or at least what some of the original vision of blockchain and cryptocurrencies is to make finance accessible to everyone.
Right.
If you're asking someone that wants to borrow $50 as an example to put up $100, it doesn't
They
really
won't
make
do it.
sense.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Right.
so really, what decentralized credit and reputation is trying to do is it's trying to lower some of those barriers so it's open to more people. There's also an institutional level of participation that could be increased as well, because if you look at the traditional finance space, these are some of the things that exist today. This is how we do business today. So we're really bringing a lot of these TradFi systems into the DeFi ecosystem so that we can be on par and, again, onboard new users.
And I have to give you points for using the term TradFi.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that one. So, okay, so let's talk then about the we're trying to bring more people into the space, and you were talking about the reputation aspect of it. So you might have some people frowning on that as another form of control, kind of like the way FICO controls access. And so what do you say to people who may come back with that kind of an argument?
I think that there's different layers of reputation and, so in other words, if somebody wanted to use some of these systems that are leveraging these decentralized reputation systems, they can choose to do it, right? It's that agency.
Right.
Sure. It's about choice.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily need to engage with those products. I think that there are going to be products that are not going to require it. I think that there are going to be products that require certain level of not just your reputation, but also of verifying your identity, who you are. It could be done through some social system where you do something through social media. Suddenly that ties into your identity on chain, and you prove that you are who you claim to be.
Right.
And it enables access to you. There may be other systems that require you to use some sort of government proof, right? Your government issued identity or identity card or passport. But I think there's different layers to that, different levels to that, and everyone has the choice to how much of that they want to provide in order to access those systems.
Which is why I like the name you chose, that ONTology chose for itself, is because for people who don't know, the ontology is defined as a branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being. So what you're basically doing is creating an identity, a proof of this person is who they say they are on the internet. You're going to need those tools, and it's better if the tools are built on reliable infrastructures like what ONTology is doing. Now, my last question, and we kind of touched on it before, you got to talk to me about the picture behind you. And if you plan that, now that's something that you did yourself. This is what you told me, right?
Yep.
Are you going to put it up as an NFT?
I really should. I should strike while the iron is hot. I think, right? I think NFTs have done a lot for increasing the visibility, raising awareness of cryptocurrencies, and onboarding new users. So I think it's fantastic. I'm loving a lot of what I'm seeing being developed out there. There's alignment as well between what's happening there and ONTology as well. One of the products that ONTology has, is Wing Finance, and there has recently been a new product that was launched on Wing that's called AnyPool, and the team is having discussions with creators and with with these issuing platforms to find a way to support the intersection of identity and art, right, with these
Right.
creators, but also for these NFT holders to then lend and borrow those NFTs. So that's kind of what AnyPool is doing. And I think that's pretty cool.
Nice. And that's on Wing, you said, right?
That's on wing.finance. Yeah. So there are several different pools available on there. That's the Flash pool on Ontology, which supports peg tokens from Ethereum. There's UNI, there's DAI, there's USDC, whole many different types of fund tokens there. It was recently launched on Ethereum. It's going to be launched on Binance Smart Chain. It has inclusive pool, which leverages Ontology's identity. So based on your credit score, you could actually participate in lending and borrowing in this credit-based lending platform. And then there's AnyPool, which literally is where you can lend and borrow anything. NFTs, STOs, real-world assets. The team is exploring all of it.
Nice. Nice. All right. So
And yeah, that might end up there, maybe.
it should. Come on.
It's really personal and close to me, so I'll really have to consider it. But might be a good way to just put something I've actually created out there.
Yeah, and then it'll also draw more attention to the company because people are going to know who's this guy that created this thing, right?
That's right.
So, all right. So, Humpty, thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. I'm going to put links to Ontology in the description below, as well as Humpty's Twitter account, so you can contact him and learn more about Ontology. Also going to link the wing.finance website so that you can have a look at that platform as well. Humpty, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.